Hi there, my name is Phixfox, and welcome back to Phixfox Shoutcasts. This is the series where you take the time to play FHeroes2, you record those videos, you send them to me, and then I get the chance to commentate, to provide some insights, and ultimately I get to hype you up. And today is going to be episode 5, featuring a familiar face. This is going to be C. Elliott 113. You might remember him from episode 2 of Phixfox Shoutcasts, where he took on the Price of Loyalty Wizard's Isle campaign scenario 1. Today, though, is going to be a single-player scenario. It's going to be on impossible difficulty, and I believe he indicated to me that this is going to include a handicap, that handicap being less gold generation from not all sources. For example, I don't think that if you stop over a gold patch and it would give you 1,000 gold, that it instead gives you 700. But still, I think that it applies to all of the normal town gold generation. So handicap, pretty big deal. We all know that gold is the lifeblood of Heroes, Might, and Magic 2. And other than that, I am not too sure what to expect. Folks, let's get started. So it is going to be Pirate Utopia here, and I better pause this before we get too much further. This is going to be a 6-player scenario. This is an extra large map, and this does come with the expansion of the Price of Loyalty. The difficulty is set to expert, and it looks like it's going to be a find the artifact type of scenario. And that's very interesting to me because that, of course, means that you have to focus in on the objective. The objective is not necessarily to wipe all of your opponents off the face of the map. You have to find this one artifact. So we got to focus in on that. And the scenario description reads as such. The fortune of infamous Yue, I don't know how I'm saying that, was buried on one of these islands. She died without ever revealing it. Find it before the other cutthroats. Ah, a good solid pirate map. This is what I live for. Looks like we are going to be playing on impossible difficulty as the blue player. The handicap lets you change to any particular deal. Oh, let's just read that real quick. We're going to go back. Handicap players start with fewer resources and earn 15 or 30% fewer resources per turn for mild and severe handicaps respectively. So that's what you can expect with that handicap. This is going to be a pretty big deal. And then I'm not sure if he's going to change his class. Are we just going to go pure random or not? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. So this is, of course, going to be incredibly difficult for any person. I didn't know you could do that until just recently, by the way. You can change your name so that you're not just the blue player or the green player. You are the blue player, C. Elliott. Yue was the scurviest pirate you'd never want to see. In all her years of murdering and thieving, she amassed so much ill-gotten booty. We got to read it. That she couldn't carry it around in her galleon. Besides, even the meanest can't stay awake all the time. Legend tells that she hid it so well, she was thinking that she just might forget where it was. So she left clues around the islands, carved in stone. Well, she's dead now. It's up to you to recover her legacy. If there's more reading, I will pause to do the reading. That might make the video go a little bit longer, but I just love a good story. I can't help it. I appreciate your patience. We are going to be starting off as the Warlocks. That's pretty darn interesting. And again, we have that severe handicap. And so I don't know how much that's going to change the strategy from a normal impossible difficulty playthrough to others. Really, it means that getting additional heroes is going to be very, very difficult. It means that getting your towns built up is going to be nigh impossible. Other than that, though, what to expect, I'm not too sure. It looks like all 3 of these heroes are going to start off with these Warlock troops. Even though Rebecca the Sorceress is a sorceress, she did have some of those Warlock troops. We are starting off getting some of our gold generation. Looks like we have 3 heroes on the map, and one of them is here on our main island. What a fortuitous circumstance to get basic pathfinding from the witch's hut right outside of your main town. That is stupendous. Picking up the griffin nest. Nice to have centaurs and griffins coming. And otherwise, there are heroes who are scattered around maybe on these islands. Will we be able to meet up or not? I'm not too sure. But these little spits of land look fairly devoid of resources. We might have to go try and find a way to get a summon boat spell, land, and then give these heroes that don't have the summon boat spell an opportunity to get into the water while we otherwise try and get them not so marooned. Yes, if we're going to be playing a pirate type of map, marooned is the word, I do believe. I appreciate Elliott taking the time to let us see that Kingdom Income tab. Right now, there's not a whole lot to really discuss and really see. We do have the 1 gem mine there. Looks like wherever that ultimate artifact is going to be, which of course the ultimate artifact is our main objective. It's going to be somewhere surrounded by water. Is this going to be a map that is mostly islands? Difficult to say. We do see Elk's Head. This is going to be a wizard type of town, and Agar is going to have the opportunity perhaps to press into the enemy there. Will he be able to with the amount of troops that he has? I don't know. It looked like the horse was rearing up to me, so there's a good chance that he's going to be able to just waltz right into that town. Picking up the vision spell. Visions is a very, very useful spell. It can help you avoid fights that you don't want to take, and it can help you take fights that you otherwise might not even try, especially if you're going to find that the enemy will not want to fight you, if they're just going to join you. Tell you what, immediately I see two things here. We see this guardian, this purple hero that has so many dragons. I think that we're going to want to stay far, far away from him. And then we lost a hero. We lost a hero. It happened so quickly, I completely missed it. What happened to... Did we just dismiss our hero there that was on the Isles? I am so confused. I'm having a rough time trying to keep up with this already, my word. Picking up the sawmill, staying away from the purple guardian. Maybe we're going to stay on those liths so that we can avoid any major problems. We don't want to tangle with him if we can possibly help it as we go through these centaurs into some additional treasure. The Castle of Blacksford, Wizard Town of Blacksford. And we are seeing immediately that these stone liths that are hidden behind these trees and pretty difficult to see, they are taking us to some pretty interesting and fantastic places already. So Rebecca and Agar are the two heroes that we currently have out on the map. I don't know how I missed that, but somehow I completely missed that we lost that third hero. Huh. Okay. Phixfox, pay a little bit better of attention. That is the third centaur cave that we've been able to pick up in our starting area here. The amount of troops you can get with those centaurs are going to be so fantastic. We should really plan on getting all those troops as much as possible because they're free. If they were, for example, those ruins where you get the Medusa, that might be a little bit more difficult to deal with, of course, because those Medusa are going to cost some gold. We do have, again, the blue, green, red, yellow, orange, and purple player here for us. And it looks like as far as what this Thieves Guild can tell us, our two heroes are tied for last, along with red and yellow. Currently, purple is the big tough guy. They've got the one guardian already that had all those dragons, not to mention they have more heroes than anyone else and more castles. Purple is probably going to be the player that we really have to avoid. And they do have that very special portrait for the Price of Loyalty campaign. That is the portrait for Uncle Ivan, is generally who we refer to as for purple. Generally a barbarian, very might-based hero. That could be incredibly scary. Otherwise, we're continuing on, taking gold, not experience for Rebecca. Is that because we are on impossible difficulty and we would prefer to have the resources as opposed to the experience? Or is it because we don't plan on Rebecca being our primary hero? I don't know. That's going to be a little bit tough to say. We're not going to find out until later. There is a barrel mound with a pack of ghosts guarding it. That might be public enemy number one. If the enemy gets that, we're in trouble. If we get that, we have an opportunity to do something very special. Ghosts, of course, are a type of unit that will get very, very far, very, very quickly out of control because they have the ability to claim the souls of those who are slain in battle. And by doing so, they boost up their own numbers. Oh, it looks like we have to run very, very quickly. Agar is immediately under attack. There was a lot of RNG that went into that lith, I think. Unless Myra went to another lith that we were not able to see, she may have had to go off and on several times in order to come out right where Agar was. Look at this, though. We just pick up an absolutely free castle, a free wizard's castle. So if you have a wizard castle and a warlock castle, you can go mighty far with that. I'm thrilled to see that we have this opportunity to build up two of the strongest late game faction type of armies. Will we get to the late game, though? That remains to be seen. Otherwise, purple is sailing around. We do see the blue player land right outside of our newly claimed wizard castle. That's going to be a little bit tough. Flint the Wizard. Looks like he's got halflings and boars, but the fact that he landed is very interesting to me. We have rocks, boars, halflings. We have centaurs and gargoyles in that army for Agar. I think that army should be able to defeat Flint. I'm not sure what he was thinking there. Picking up another Thieves Guild. I must tell you, I love this. And the additional information that we get from this second Thieves Guild is so very important, of course. The more Thieves Guilds you have across the map, the more information you will get. In this instance, we're able to see that Purple's main hero is a 9 attack, 9 defense. They are very scary. I am not thrilled to see this purple player. That is a little bit more than I think that anybody really wants to deal with right now. And whether or not we're going to end up coming upon purple sooner rather than later, I don't know. Maybe that purple player, that purple hero, is guarding the ultimate artifact, and we're going to have to be very, very careful, perhaps. Otherwise, the other stats here that we're seeing, nothing too scary at the moment. Maybe green, red, and yellow. Maybe those are all just going to do the very best they can. Maybe they're just there as spoilers, someone that we can contend with, but not be overwhelmed by. We will wait and see. Otherwise, it looks like red is actually doing a great job with their gold in the treasury, the wood, and the ore. So red has the means of production as well. Are we going to fight Flint here? Agar doesn't really have much skill level. I believe that he's actually level 2. I think he picked up 1 level early on. But do we attack? We do. And that just is a baffling decision from Purple. Why land with Flint? We will take it. We'll take the boat, of course, but that's just a little bit interesting. With Agar, we pick up the gold there as well. So gold for all of these instances. The ultimate artifact is really the ultimate wand of magic. Interesting to note, but of course the scenario ends once we pick up the ultimate artifact because that is our win-loss objective. So, and this might be disaster. We do see Purple has come through that lith right where that wizard castle is. Perhaps it could be useful as we pick up the haste spell and the +1 to our spell power for Rebecca. Perhaps it would be useful to have a hero stand right on those liths just to prevent additional enemies from aggressing into our area here. More gold, more crystal. Maybe Agar's whole job is not actually to fight. Maybe it's actually just to be a resource gatherer for us. If we don't attack that hero, then I do believe that we are ceding the wizard castle there. I don't see any other way around it. And on impossible difficulty, you know that the AI is going to fight tooth and nail for any advantage that they can get. I think that they're going to see an empty castle and they're going to take that, and they do. Immediately they do. So really, this might be a time to stand on liths and prevent the enemy from going places that you don't want them to go, effectively shutting the door on any kind of aggression. I believe that we just picked up the advanced wisdom there. Rebecca from that gazebo. Nice to see that she's getting some opportunities to move forward there. And Agar does hop into a boat. He did not hop into the boat that Flint had, but he does hop into this one here. Is his job simply to get artifacts, get shipwreck survivors, sea chests, flotsam, whatever else he can find? That might be the route that we're going with Agar. Some clever pathing there to avoid going around the gazebo. You just got to make sure that you go through it. It doesn't cost you anything. And in fact, it saves you some movement points when you do some smart pathing like that. So good job there. And then we are upgrading our castle here for the warlocks actually fairly quickly. They're picking up the minotaurs from the maze. It'll be interesting to see, are we going to be able to potentially find enough resources to push our way into an early green tower? It's not uncommon. It's very uncommon to pick up your green tower in week 1. It's fairly common to pick it up in week 2. The latest I think that you really want to get your green tower would be probably week 3. After that, you're really behind as far as troops go. Barbarians and knights are starting to overwhelm you, and you're going to start struggling in that regard. We do pick up the dungeon as well, though, by the way, for that additional 500 gold. I believe that the handicap, the 30%, does in fact impact that 500 gold as well. We see an obelisk, and I'm interested to see, it looks like Agar is going to land for this obelisk. Of course, you can't find the ultimate artifact if you don't know where it's at, and yet that doesn't necessarily mean that you must pick up every single one of those obelisks. I've seen some very clever players do a good job in finding the general area and then getting lucky with 1 or 2 digs, and sometimes with 20 or 25 digs. There's been several maps in the history of Heroes of Might and Magic where you see in your viewing screen nothing but holes, and that's just fine. No concerns there. We did pick up the Minotaur Kings, by the way, an excellent upgrade. Going from the 4-speed ground creatures into the 6-speed is a really fantastic upgrade, and their damage is terrific with going from 5 to 10 damage. So Minotaur King is an excellent backbone to this early Warlock army, and it looks like we're actually going to use that here on day 1 as we pick up all these troops with Rebecca. Rebecca appears to be pushing out to head towards those Minotaurs. What those Minotaurs are guarding, difficult to say. I was surprised that we didn't consider fighting that Warlock town to our eastern tip of our little island. I thought that we would see potentially some more activity in that direction. It makes sense to me that we would want to get more towns, but maybe Elliott has more information on this map than I do. Maybe he knows better than I do. I think that that's not just likely, I think that that is probable. Otherwise, we continue to get more flotsam. We are not picking up another hero, by the way. We have been essentially a 2-hero map. I wonder if Elliott, who mentioned in the previous video, if he is using some of his kind of his house rules. He mentioned in the previous playthrough that he was only going to use one hero. He was not going to advance the Mage Guild, so he was going to try to not rely on spells. I wonder if he's doing something similar here. Perhaps he is saying, look, I must have at least 2 heroes. Maybe that's where we lost that one hero. Maybe he just dismissed them, saying, no, I just don't need you. Or maybe I just don't want to mess with you. As we see the Purple Goblin King. And I'd be interested to know at the end of this video, once Elliott takes the time to comment on this video, I will pin that comment. I believe that he's going to make sure that his rules are reiterated there and hopefully point out some of the key features that Phixfox misses, because as much of a job as I like to do to try to be on point, I always appreciate when people say, you know, you saw this, but you missed this. And it's very key or critical, something that really played into their strategy. And so I'm always excited to see the comments and see, you know, what did Phixfox catch and what did Phixfox miss? Continuing on, we are on to day 5 now of week 2. This scenario is going fairly quickly as far as actual time spent, and I do know that that is something that Elliott likes to do. He's not necessarily a speed runner, but he does try and make sure that the time he spends on these scenarios goes by fairly quickly. And I'm very impressed with that. I tend to mull over my decisions a lot, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm always very impressed with the players that can identify a potential fight and just go with it. 1 gargoyle, 1 griffin lost in this auto combat. Will he be able to do better? I think that he will. He does have the gargoyle split into 2 groups of 11. So 2 groups of 11 plus the 8 Minotaur Kings, not to mention 16 griffins and the 130 centaurs. Those centaur caves have done fantastic for us. This is a tremendous fighting force here, and this battle looks like it's going to go very, very well for us, not only because we have excellent troops, but also look at the terrain there. We are able to spend those 3 single hex creatures and put them in the bottom of our centaurs, and then the terrain is doing a great job of preventing any minotaurs from aggressing from the northeast towards the west. That's going to be pretty useful for us. I think that we can actually avoid all losses in this fight if we but try. The Minotaur Kings are saying to themselves, do I want to fight you? Probably not so much. Then again, we are going to spend the time on the curse spell. The Minotaurs, the base level Minotaurs being able to go 4 hexes, they would have gotten the first hit on our Minotaur Kings. We are opting to take the fight to them and then cursing, again, the big stack of Minotaurs who do between 5 to 10 damage. Ultimately, it was not necessary because of that excellent instance of good morale. You can't plan on that. This was fantastic, though. We went from 11 gargoyles up to 36 in that very first stack. We now have 2 stacks of 24. What a fortuitous circumstance. Anytime you can get creatures to join you, you are happy. You can use those as castle defenders. You can put those extra troops on secondary heroes. But if you get troops that are of your faction type to join you, and you already have troops of that alignment in your army, you're feeling terrific. It's already a gift, and then it feels like an even better gift. Couple of interesting things here that we need to focus on. There is a gold mine, there is a Xanadu, and there is an artesian spring. It looks like we are going to use at least that curse spell a few times, things like that. I don't know, again, if we're going to be using mage guilds much or not, but that artesian spring could be pretty useful. And then red dragons to the west, they are guarding something. What it is, I don't know, but I'm very excited to get this gold mine. That extra 1,000 gold per day is fantastic, not to mention we focused on getting the statue in the dungeon early on. So any amount of help we can get there is terrific. Interesting choice from the map maker here, where they make it so you have to land to get the observation tower, go back into the boat, and then land again to get that obelisk. There is that sandy isle to the south. It does have that artesian spring again, and then that trunk of gold for 750 extra gold per day. That could be pretty useful. That's interesting. I kind of missed that. Of all the different type of liths that are here on this map, there are liths that are locked behind tents. So it might be in our best interests to make sure that we pick up all of these liths before the enemies do. We want to be able to control the flow of this map better than they can. We opt not to fight that green dragon for the ice cloak. I think that that's a great decision. The ice cloak is not one of my personal favorite artifacts. It's not bad. It has a good persistent effect, and it's actually got a really high percentage of an effect. Knowing that it's a 50% damage reduction for ice, your ice ray and your cold ring, things like that. Cold ray, excuse me. Then it is very, very useful. But of course, there's more spells than just cold spells. For the fight that it would be a dragon, perhaps it's wise to come back at another time. We are picking up this obelisk here, and I do want to point out that we just saw Orange, I believe, take out one of Purple's heroes. Now, in my mind so far, Purple appears to be the big scary guy. There's that barbarian hero for Orange that did knock off one of the Purple heroes so far. that is actually really nice for me for two reasons. Number one, we're able to see that the enemy forces are being depleted as they fight each other. That means less troops that we have to fight. That's number one. And number two is that we know from here on out, at least those two players are not allied. And that makes me believe that none of the players are allied. It is probably more of a free-for-all map. And in fact, I wonder if you're trying to play with friends, if this is a good map where you can play as the blue player, somebody else can play as orange and red and yellow, and then everybody has to contend with purple as the big bad evil guy as you all try and search for this artifact and be the first to find it. That actually makes this treasure hunt very interesting. The white pearl from a shipwreck survivor, one of my all-time favorite artifacts. That one and the black pearl, they both give you plus knowledge and plus spell power. A tremendous artifact, especially for barbarians and might-based heroes. Still very thrilled to see that for Agar. And we're picking up some additional adventure map objects there. We're doing a good job of taking everything that we need to at this time. There is the aqua barrier tent there, right next to a trading post. My word, several titans. Goodness gracious, let's stay far, far away from you. And then this other observation tower. We do see on the Isles a sphinx. Perhaps we know what that sphinx's riddle is, and perhaps we don't. Is it worth the risk? Rarely do I think it's worth the risk, especially if you're not playing with any saves, especially if you are going to do this as a one-shot. It always feels like more of a risk than not. We did notice that there was 3 or 4 halfling holes, much like we have those centaur caves that we can pick up centaurs at. There's going to be an opportunity perhaps to pick up lots and lots of halflings. Whether that'll be on the menu for us today or not, I'm not too sure. Waiting to find out on that. Again, orange does look to be contending with purple. I haven't seen any other colored flags try and deal with purple. It looks like it's all orange all the way. Maybe the other colors are at a huge disadvantage. Maybe they're having a difficult time in scouting the map. Difficult to say. We're going to have to wait and find out. Looks like we do take the expert wisdom. And I'm guessing, given how good of a secondary skill the ballistics is, I'm guessing that indicates that maybe we will use spells, or at least we'll give ourselves the opportunity to pick up a pyramid where you can get that 5th level spell for free. I shouldn't say for free. After you defeat the Guardians, you get a 5th level spell. And those can be incredibly useful. I do remember that Dimension Door was off the table in the rules of the previous scenario that Elliott did. Maybe Dimension Door will be off the table again, as well as the Town Portal spell. More heroes in the water. I think that's actually the first time, no, second or third time that we've seen an enemy hero in the water. The AI is not using boats very much at this time, as we have a new month. That's going to be month of the vampire. Was it vampire lord? I think it was vampire. As we continue to pick up these obelisks, it looks like each obelisk that we pick up is only giving us 1 puzzle piece. That indicates to me that you have anywhere between, oh gosh, I would say 25 to 32 puzzle pieces. And that means 30 or 25 to 32 obelisks that we need to pick up on this map. Again, if we want every little bit of the picture. I don't know. I think I've seen sometimes where you don't have to have the very last puzzle piece to actually see the X on the map. Of course, X marks the spot. I think it's quite possible. I think I've seen it before where you can not go through all of that shenanigans. Maybe you're only going to need 75% of the map in order to dig this up. Now, perhaps, again, that could be a good house rule that a player might put upon themselves. They say, look, if I'm going to play this scenario, I'm going to give myself the added challenge that I must pick up every obelisk. For us mere mortals, you and I, though, we don't have to do that. We can just get lucky. We can just guess. And if the enemy is not going to fight us, then no, never mind to the potential threat and danger. Looks like we are going to land. I do like the Agars picking up this alchemist lab. I think that any kind of resource generation you can get is going to be useful, especially because those resources that are being generated are probably going to be very difficult for the enemy to pick up, in large part because if it's out on the island, do you really want to take the time to land for 1 day, move for the 2nd day, and then back into the boat for maybe a 3rd day, depending on how much terrain the beach slows you down for? It depends, but sometimes you will see that the enemy will simply not go out of their way for it. It's not in the calculations. It just doesn't make as much sense. Rebecca is apparently heading back into, well, she's heading into the water. This will be the first time for her. She's going to go east. She's pathing directly into the boat, but not towards that town. I haven't seen a right click. Is that town very, very, very heavily guarded? I don't know. Where does the Guardian keep getting these troops from, by the way? have you noticed that his troops have been changing? He started off with nothing but dragons, and now he's slowly been getting rocks. He's been getting steel golems. He's been getting different troops. What is going on here? Is that an unintentional change that's happened with the map after it's been ported to FHeroes2? Sometimes the original AI was kept in mind when these maps were being created. Sometimes you are having to contend with a whole new set of problems because the AI is doing something nifty. Wait a second, the Guardian has moved. Hold on. No. We gotta replay that turn. I am so sorry. We have to go back. The Guardian has either been moved or defeated. There's purple. Yeah, okay, so the purple Guardian is on the move. I thought that they've just been sitting there this whole time. Do they have a patrol radius? If you have a patrol radius, are you able to go through liths? That is an interesting question, because immediately you will break your tether because, oh, well, I've now transported outside of my 30 range or 30 radius. That Guardian is on the move, and that is incredibly scary. Yeah, +1 for the knowledge and the spell power for the White Pearl, +2 for the knowledge from the Minor Scroll of Knowledge. Agar with his 4 spell power, 5 knowledge. Not too bad, but he doesn't have full 50 spell points. The full 50 spell points, you have to step on a well or regenerate those spell points. It's going to take a while for him to get back up to 50. And the spell power is negligible. I think that we do know that he has a curse. I don't think he has a damaging spell. I didn't see a magic arrow or a lightning bolt. If we can maybe step on some kind of shrine, that could be incredibly useful for us. Vatawna does have several giants. That's always scary, because even though giants are not something that I concern myself too much with, they have to be dealt with, first of all. And second of all, they can always turn into a major problem if they become titans. We are sailing north. The end of the world is nigh, the bottle says. And I am inclined to believe the bottle. I think that the bottle was probably made by somebody who wasn't just chucking rubbish into the ocean. Although, I think that in Heroes of Might and Magic 2, I'm sure that there's at least one government agency that oversees all of Enroth to make sure that there is no waste being mishandled inappropriately. Maybe some wizard pouring his potions down the drain. Yeah, there's got to be somebody that's looking over his shoulder. There's got to be some sort of government agency that is preventing radioactive wizard waste from getting to our water supply. But I digress. We pick up the Thunder Mace of Dominion for the +1 attack. Yeah, every once in a while I try to be funny. Let me know later if that joke landed or not. Radioactive wizard waste. I like the alliteration, if nothing else. Otherwise, I don't see purple. I don't see purple really breaking out of containment too much. That Goblin King keeps more or less doing the same little route there. It's difficult for me to ascertain whether or not he is trapped between those liths. I do know, again, that there are some of those liths where there is a barrier right outside of it, and that is a little bit concerning. Here in the south west. Okay, pause. We need to pause this, and I need to pull up my mini map here so we can take a look at this. Oh no, I don't have it set up. Okay, here on the mini map, just to point this out, the area that we're looking at here is pretty darn interesting to me because it's down here, right? We are here in this upper right corner. This is kind of where we have started. This is our territory, and then Agar has just been kind of wandering around and circling through and going through some liths, and he's been in the boat. And now we're to the point where here in this little area that we are looking at, this is so rich. This is the area where we have seen in the liths right here that the purple Guardian has more or less been staying at. And what do we see? We see some massive resource generating opportunities for the enemies. And I think that they're going to be taking advantage of this for a long, long time. Perhaps we need to be very careful. The longer this scenario goes, maybe they're just going to get more and more powerful. Maybe that's going to be something that we need to be very cautious of, very careful of. And maybe we need to find a way to get into there and liberate some of those potential resources for our own use. Hugging the coast, and we're still doing more of that. There is going to be a wizard castle. Halon, few titans. They're already up to titans. It's month 2, week 2, day 3, and they've got titans. That is pretty darn scary. I see a couple of these liths, by the way, that are in the water. For example, there's that lith to the north of Agar's position, and it's guarded by bone dragons. To really use that, you would have to land and then go through that lith to somewhere, and then potentially if you're going to come out of that lith, you better have a summoned boat. Otherwise, you're going to be in a little bit of trouble. We see ghosts. We see nomads. Nomads are a great unit, and especially when there's 2 nomads tents where you can recruit those nomads, it's going to be pretty useful for you to be able to have that troop. The problem is right now you'd have to combine your gargoyles. We do have the stack of 32 and the 31. We are opting to fight this fight. Good choice, bad choice. I think that that's a great choice. I think that right now the choice is, look, Rebecca, who has the portrait of Rebecca the Warlock, but the model of the Warlock and the skill progression of the Warlock. I think that they're saying, look, I really need the experience more than anything, and I think that whatever losses I might take are going to be completely and utterly acceptable to help us kind of move forward. Do note that a couple of the spells that we saw there, we saw the blind spell. No damaging spells here, but the blind is one of the best disabling spells in the game. It's a favorite of barbarians and knights because it's only a level 2 spell, and so even if you don't have wisdom, you can still cast it. Of course, it's very comparable to the big brother, which will be the paralyze. I would love to see Rebecca pick up a damaging spell, though. She has 7 spell power. Yeah, 1 attack, 1 defense, 7 spell power, and a fistful of knowledge. Right now, we only have 27 spell points left. We do have the cure and the haste and the curse to go along with that, not to mention the Dragon Slayer. Dragon Slayer is one of those spells where you hope you never need it. If you understand what I'm saying, you hope that you never have to use your Dragon Slayer. But alas, that's not always going to be likely. Once again, as a continuation from the previous scenario, the Wizard's Isle scenario 1 that Elliott did, we see excellent fighting, good battle command, losing no troops that time, whereas the AI would have lost some. And so that's always a good, I don't want to say it's a good measure. There's going to be times where you see a player lose more troops than the AI. You're going to see times where the AI will lose more troops than the player. And that comes down to a lot of things. Sometimes there really is an element of luck and chance. You can fight the same battle several different times, and depending on some of the luck and the morale that shows up, you can have completely differing fights. So it's not highly concerning to me if there's massive losses from a player, and yet it's always nice to see when the player turns a few losses into no losses and a resounding victory, triumphant victory. That pathfinding is coming in pretty darn useful for us, by the way, as we looked at our armies to decide if we wanted to fight these ghosts or not. I don't know if I would have fought this fight. I don't think I would have fought this fight. I think that Elliott, knowing that the auto combat says we're going to win this fight, I don't think I would have fought this fight. I am so confused. Hold on. Wait a second. Hold on. I am so sorry, folks. I need to pause. I need to go back a second. Why are we so fast? Why are we so fast? Ghosts are a 5-speed creature. So the Minotaur Kings and the Gargoyles are going to get to go first. No problems, right? So we have our 6-speed creatures that are going to get to go before their ghosts. Why did our Griffins get to go? Griffins are a 4-speed creature. I am so confused. What's going on here? Oh, it's the haste. I missed the haste. My word, what an excellent use of the haste. I missed that completely, and I was losing my mind for about 2 seconds. Thank you. And immediately though, the calculation is this. If the ghosts are not able to get to my centaurs, then I can take acceptable losses from all of the rest of my creatures. And look, the Griffins are of course retaliating against every single one of these ghosts, and so we're getting some excellent value out of them. This has been a tremendous, a great use of foresight to look at the army, to look at the composition, and to say to yourself, how is this battle going to play out? I would not have fought this fight just at first glance, and Elliott made the correct decision. I think that these losses are going to be fantastic. You're not going to lose, I don't think, a single centaur unless you pull one of these troops off of those centaurs. Worth noting, of course, that centaurs are very, very difficult to defend. They do have higher hit points than all of the other first level creatures. They come in at 5 hit points. And so of all the creatures that I probably want to use to fight ghosts, first level creatures, usually you want none of them because they're going to be so easily devoured by these ghosts. But the centaurs can actually take a hit. Wasn't even necessary. The centaurs don't get touched in this fight. That's going to be 3 griffins and 4 gargoyles going down. And when you're able to defeat a pack of ghosts like that, you are feeling pretty great. And that makes us even more confident about this fight for this gold mine. And yes, I see those borrow mounds, but something tells me that you cannot path to them. You can path into the ghosts. You are kidding me. Amazing. Amazing. And very, very good as far as we talked about. Maybe this is a map that you play with your friends. If there's going to be one borrow mound on the map, you better have more than just one, because if there's only one opportunity to get ghosts, like you would find per se in Ghost Planet, then the map has to really be designed around that and built off of that. One way you can do that is to have a huge, barrier between you and getting that. For example, multiple tents or a massive army that you have to go through to kind of prove your worthiness to take those ghosts. Otherwise, maybe even having the barrow mound in the very center of the map, like proximity based, because you don't want some enemies, some of the different factions to not have a chance at ghosts because, hey, I just can't reach there in time, as purple takes out lots of orange's players. Orange and purple still battling it out. So we've seen one barrel mound already on the map. This is a second, and maybe there's going to be more. We're going to need to combine these gargoyles. Restless spirits of long dead warriors seeking their final resting place offer to join you in hopes of finding peace. Do you want them? Yes, we do. I think that we're going to just combine the gargoyles and then engage with these ghosts. We can get 21. It's going to be incredibly expensive, but 21 ghosts is going to be so good. And we have the badge of courage, as we were seeing there. So having the negative morale from the undead in the group and losing that +1 morale from having troops of all one alignment is absolutely worth it. I'm excited to find peasants. I'm excited to find halflings. I'm excited to find anybody that can let me leech life from them. Worth noting, actually, I do believe that you can. Let me think. I think that if ghosts defeat creatures like elementals, I think that you still get the ghost. It doesn't make any sense, but I think that that is the way it is. Picking up 4 more ghosts because it is month 2, week 3, day 1. Day 1, of course, pretty important there. And now we're going to fight these ghosts in this mine because we have our additional backup troops. Very interesting. Very interesting. I don't actually know, by the way, if ghosts are in your army and you are fighting more ghosts, what does the AI prioritize? Will the AI try and prioritize those centaurs, or will it try and prioritize your ghosts? I don't know how big of a threat level they put on that, but I guess we're going to find out right now. So gargoyles are going to go into that defensive position. I think that we're going to do the same trick before with the griffins. Yeah, that just makes so much sense. That is such a slick maneuver. Very nice to see that working out. And the ghosts are going to prioritize other ghosts, but for every one of our ghosts that they kill, we're going to get some back on the retaliation, and we're also going to get some back when we actually attack them. So it's going to be just a back and forth unloading on each other. And that seems pretty good to me. I'm all for being able to protect the centaurs, keep our other troops alive, because the ghosts at this point are more or less a self-sustaining type of troop. Yeah, they can take some losses, but ultimately the stack size is only going to get bigger unless you have a complete and utter, I don't know, team wipe. Then you're going to be okay. So whether we attack 20 ghosts or whether we attack 4 doesn't really matter. From 20 down to 11, back up to 13 on the retaliation, back up to 16. Yeah, we're just trading ghosts back and forth, but this is ultimately the big stack here. It's kind of like if you've ever seen this little YouTube short where there's scissors and there's paper and there's rock and they all fight each other and one of them goes for dominance over the other. It's kind of what it looks like, where eventually all of the souls must be accounted for, and so long as our ghosts are the ones left standing, then all of the ghosts will be in my stack instead of yours. So that's basically what happened there. And I think that we actually picked up the estates there over the mysticism for that secondary skill. Either one is fine, I think. I'm not too sure. I think it probably matters a little bit more depending on whether or not the handicap will actually impact your estates or not. I don't know. Very close as far as whether we were going to be able to get into the boat on this turn or not. Happy to see that we were able to get into it. It's not a major concern if we don't, but still, it's always nice to see things work out in a nice, neat, orderly fashion. Agar does land, so we can pick up 1 more obelisk on this turn. And I gotta tell you, I do love how nonplussed our heroes are. We're not really worrying about what the enemy is doing. The enemy has got a lot of movement. There's a lot of heroes on the map. Lots of things are happening, but we don't really care. We have our ghosts. We are looking for some stacks that we can incorporate into our armies. And maybe now that we have these ghosts, we're saying, okay, it's time for us to actually finally let you guys taste our wrath, taste our steel. To this point, we have really avoided fights in every instance possible. Going to be a lot of beach there, but with so much of the map still remaining to be seen, I don't think that there's any chance that we're going to be able to pick up this ultimate artifact. You have in the map editor generally the opportunity to say that the ultimate artifact will be right here every single time, regardless of the scenario playthrough. And you can do that, but of course that really loses some of the mystique on multiple playthroughs. Generally what you'll find is that you'll have the radius around that section where you put the ultimate artifact, and then you'll know that the ultimate artifact can be just somewhere randomly on the map or within a certain radius of a certain spot. I'm guessing that in this instance that it will be in a different spot every single time. I love this decision, even though we lost one gargoyle. I love this decision to fight the fight manually. Why is that? Every single fight you take, you can manually make sure that your ghosts are picking up the most troops possible. The gargoyles, the griffins, the centaurs, they can all attack right now if they choose to. I don't think we're going to see them attack anybody. I think that all these other troops are going to stay back. They're going to do nothing. Maybe they'll take one easy fight here or there, maybe. But otherwise, I think that you're going to see that the ghosts are going to clean up literally everybody on this map. It wouldn't even hurt my feelings if the centaurs attacked that one zombie just to get them out of the way. We're going to retaliate and destroy those 11 boars. But whatever amount of halflings there are on the bottom, I think it's only one halfling. Yeah, it's only one halfling. We're going to take that with no problem. We are now up to 85 ghosts. What a good stack size. And here is Blacksford. This was that army. This was that castle, I believe. This was the wizard castle that we had happened on at one point. Not the one that we took, though. I don't think that this is that same wizard castle. We do have, as we pause, some new additional information here as we pick up another Thieves guild. So as far as things to consider and concern ourselves with, the purple big bad hero is not a major issue. He has not gotten stronger as it is. 9 attack, 9 defense, 8 power, 9 knowledge. What is of great concern to me anyway, maybe it is to you as well, is this fellow right here. Jacqueline the Barbarian for orange. She is so scary. She has been in the gym. She has taken steroids. She is 15 attack, 6 defense. That's going to be a major hero. We're going to want to stay far, far away from her. Oh my goodness, 15 attack. I wonder how many levels she has versus how much of those stats come from artifacts. I mean, you can pick up one Holy Hammer for +5 attack. You can pick up the Dragon Sword of Dominion for a +3 attack. You can beef up that attack skill in a variety of ways, mercenary camps, etc. But, wow. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's highly leveled. And those secondary skills do matter, and they can be good for the support. Myra the Wizard with a few titans, a few giants, and we're just going to leave. I thought that those troops that we had left there were actually going to hold that wizard castle for us for quite some time. I am immediately disproven on that theory. That was a major error on my part. How dare I think that the enemy is going to allow us to simply hold a castle for free? I don't know. 81 ghosts, is that enough to deal with those troops that were up there? Maybe, maybe not. But the point is let's not risk it. I think that is actually a really good tactical decision. I think that it would be easy to get hot-headed, to maybe feel like, buddy, I am the most powerful person here on this map because I have so much potential. My ghosts make sure that I have an unlimited ceiling. I can be the biggest, baddest, scariest guy. But right now we have to admit that, you know what, we can be, but maybe we're not there right now. Maybe we do need to spend a little bit more time investing in fighting some of these smaller fights so that we can be even better, even bigger. Interesting choice not to take the Genies. I think that was absolutely a purposeful decision as we pick up the golden bow for the no morale penalty, or excuse me, no ranged penalty fighting castle fights. Maybe, I mean, how important are Genies? I mean, they cost the gold, they cost the gems to pick them up from the magic lamps when they find them. I probably would have taken the lamp just because, if for no other reason than I don't want anybody else to have it. Could you imagine, actually, if you have thousands of ghosts and you've really spent the time to invest in your huge stack size of ghosts, and then here comes an enemy, here comes a hero that has 5 stacks of 1 genies, and they all try and swamp your your stack of ghosts, and they do in fact half the stack once or twice. That would be disheartening, to say the least. There was a very interesting moment there with the AI, by the way. There, that hero, purple. They are pathing through the jungle in a way that's so incredibly interesting. I think that with the new FHeroes2 map editor, I'm already seeing some maps where the creators are being very clever and hiding objects. They're hiding artifacts and things like stone liths in the tree line. And that's always been something that's very, well known and often done. Oh, Phineas is stuck on dragons. He can't go out because he can't hit spacebar and go back. That's so sad. Pity. But I think that the issue is that will only, of course, affect the player. And like you see there with that purple hero that was wandering through that little tree canopy, the AI will understand that it can path there, and it will not miss some of those other artifacts, those bits of treasure or trinkets or what have you. So just something to consider. Are you kidding me? My word, no way. This cannot be allowed to stand. This cannot be allowed to stand. There's no way that we can lose all of these ghosts. I think that this is an absolute downright refusal. Slow. That's what it is. That's what it is. That is how the AI won this fight. Of course, you can't paralyze or blind ghosts because they are undead, and they just won't stand for it. But by slowing them, it would take 5-6 turns to get across the battlefield, and the 32 orc chiefs, the 7 of the war trolls, yeah, I could absolutely see the enemy eking out a victory by the skin of their teeth. And it wasn't even really eking it out. They seemed to have destroyed the stacks. At this point, though, with 131 ghosts, we are in your backline. I don't think that we're going to see any problems moving forward. What a good time to have a spell. What a great time. The enemy does surrender. Their cowardice cost them 3,000 gold. They must have had some excellent artifacts. That was Roxana, the necromancer, I do believe. So we finally have a damaging spell. It's a magic arrow, but it counts. And by the way, note that we have over 71,000 gold. That's a lot of gold. 71,000 gold. It's a good thing we had that penalty, that handicap, because otherwise, my word, what are we even doing? I don't know if you would want to leave any of your ghosts behind in an instance like this. Sure, you don't really want to lose. Yeah, 2 golden bows. I see you. That's kind of nifty. Not just 1, but 2. I feel like you should get a multiplicative stat bonus for that. Except how would that work? Because of course, all it's doing is removing a penalty. It's not beefing up your penalty, or it's not giving you additional stats. It's not giving you an additional 50%. Anyway, I digress. But I don't know if you actually want to leave ghosts behind in these castles. Like we've seen, the enemy does have some tricks up its sleeve. They can cause us some grief. In a fight like this, I agree with that decision to not fight that fight yourself. There's no point. You're going to fight the enemy. You're gonna win, and all of the losses that the enemy takes is going to go onto your ghost stack somehow. So great choice there. I think you can roll through some of these fights a little bit faster. I do like the decision to actually go towards the mercenary camp. I think that anytime you get a +1 to your attack and defense, that's only going to be beneficial for you. And of course, that does impact, depending on the circumstance at hand. That could be 10% bonus damage, or that could be 5% reduced damage that you take. So it's always worthwhile to have attack and defense, always worth going out of your way for. We have 250 plus wood, 43 mercury, 99 ore, 1 sulfur, 19 crystal, 21 gems. Are we going to be getting our green tower now? I think so. Yep, that's got to be what we're doing. Yep. Okay. And so month 2, week 4, day 7. This is, as I mentioned earlier, a really, 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 really late green tower. But what can you do? We haven't seen any sulfur. We potentially could have traded earlier, but we haven't really found a trading post. I think that we did see one on the map, I think in our starting area, but we've been gone for so long. And I think that this is probably playing into Elliott's rules that he has made for himself. I'm guessing that he's only going to keep the heroes that he starts off with for the added difficulty. And so you can't just hire a new hero in your starting area and go to that trading post. And so, I mean, yeah, you got a lot of wood there, but you'd rather trade at a better clip anyway. And since we've already got the ghosts, don't think it really matters. I love, Elliott, I love that you're picking up these, I love that you're picking up all of these Thieves guilds. So By the way, personality here, kind of there at the bottom, that's not something that is currently being used in the FHeroes2 version. I know that in Heroes Might and Magic 2 Gold and beyond, that actually does have some value. That does give you some information as far as what you can expect out of the enemy, but not so much here in FHeroes2. Blue player, us, we are strong, we are getting better, and I'm excited to see what the Army Kingdom strength is going to look like, because I think that we are pretty tough right now. But I'm guessing, if I just you know, kind of feeling this out a little bit, I'm guessing the purple's actually better than us as far as that goes. Glorious Victory, we'll take some losses. And then the Idol is going to give us plus luck there. I don't think that the Idol works in Heroes 2 like it does in Heroes 3. Of course, in Heroes 3, the Idol will give you either luck or morale as we pick up the Leprechaun's luck and the Purse of Gold for 500 gold. I don't think that the luck or the Idol in Heroes 2 will give you either morale or luck depending on what day of the week it is. I could be wrong. I think, though, that it is in place where if you visit an idol on day 7, that you do get some additional things. Day 7 is not the best day of the week, but it is Sunday, of course. The best day of the week in Heroes of Might and Magic is always day 1. Who would have thought that Monday would have been the best day of the week? Here it absolutely is. Demon Cave is empty. And I think that, of course, even if we go into that Demon Cave and there were some things that we could defeat, we would defeat the Guardians rather than just gamble and get a 50-50 shot. Or maybe it's better, maybe it's worse, of the demon catching us and then ransoming our hero back to us for 2,500 gold. That mechanic is always so funny to me, because if you want to get lucky, you sure can try, but I've never been much of a gambler when it comes to that. We are picking up the logistics instead of the leadership, a very good and purposeful decision, I think. When you have ghosts, what's the point? They're not going to benefit from the leadership. As we see Vatawna threatening Agar, Agar better consider landing quickly. He cannot run because he does not have the navigation bonus. You got to land, otherwise she's going to catch you. She's going to catch you. She's going to catch you. And if we are only doing a run where you only have the heroes that you started off with, this could be actually a massive loss, because if you can't replenish these heroes, what do? All of a sudden, your effectiveness, your flexibility is cut in half. Vatawna turns around and goes away. Agar is going to escape with no problems. Tremendous. Again, is that the case or not? I don't know. We're going to have to wait for the post-game commentary. But I think that's what's happening here. So Agar still continuing to sail around, and he's actually, if you notice, looking at the mini-map, he's doing a great job. We are seeing so much of this map. It would be great as we pick up this pouch of gems for a +1 units of gems per day. Tremendous. It would be very interesting to have another sorceress in the water because of her navigation ability. But as it stands, I think that I like a warlock just as good or better for this reason and this reason alone. The scouting that you start off with. Whereas the sorceress can go further on the water, the warlock with his scouting is going to be able to see further onto land as he goes by the coast. And I have to say which is more valuable. Tough to say. There is something in that little jungle that the enemy heroes keep wandering into. I don't think it was a one-time use pickup. I don't think it was like an artifact or like a pile of gold or something. I think it's got to be like a gazebo or an artesian spring that's hidden in the trees there, because we've seen multiple heroes go there. But it has been over 2 weeks. I can't tell. You could probably right-click on it if you are in game, but we're not going to get the opportunity to take a look here now. So we're going to have to just wait and see what that is. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we won't. I don't know. Otherwise, we finally are able to track down Luna. Luna has been evading us for quite some time. And ultimately, notice that it noted that we had 2 losses there, but our stack size went from 250 some ghosts up to 284. And so even though we have losses, it keeps track of the losses in the post-game screen or the post-battle screen, much like you would find for mirror images that are destroyed, for example. They show up there, but they're not really lost, or rather they're lost, but we still get the other bonuses, and that's not kept track of. It's not a zero-sum game type of deal. As I've mentioned before, this is a map where we are looking for an artifact. We are not trying to defeat all of our enemies. And yet, with this stack size of Ghost, I think if it comes down to it, you probably could. You could probably do some absolute destruction of the enemy as we move to enemy jump right now. I think that up to this point, that indicates to me that Elliott has been keeping track of the enemy's movement. We've really seen nobody in the upper left corner where our hometown is. Nobody's going to the northwest. And so we don't have to worry about dealing with losing our hometown. We're just letting dragons accrue. They're going to continue to get bigger and stronger. But now we are so powerful with these ghosts that I think that we're saying not necessary. We're going to let the enemy do an instant jump now. And I think that maybe this is Elliott going for a faster time as far as actual in real life time. And plus, you can kind of keep track of what the enemy's doing. It's just a little bit more difficult. Of course, the Heroes of Might and Magic 2 never has, and maybe never will, have a replay the enemy's turn type of function. That is present in other iterations of Heroes of Might and Magic, and very, very useful. Sometimes you forget, wait, I saw something important and I forget where it was, and then you have to replay the enemy's turn to discover that. Heroes of Might and Magic 2 does not have that, and it might, I don't know if that's a plan for FHeroes2 at some point to have a replay function like that. That would be very, very interesting. Purple no longer has Uncle Ivan as their primary hero. It is now the Goblin King. We've right-clicked on the Goblin King, and it was Goblin King and not simply Maximus, but he's just as tough or tougher with 9 attack, 9 defense. Orange does not have Jacqueline as their toughest hero anymore. Interesting. Very interesting. Green does have a hero with 5 spell power and 10 knowledge with Natasha. And then it looks like 6th level creatures and 5th level creatures across the board. What to expect out of that more, I cannot say. Total army strength. We now have that available to us here from this Thieves Guild. Is going to be purple in the number 1 spot, blue, ourselves, in the number 2 spot, followed by green, red, yellow, and then orange. So interesting to see what's going to go as far as, are we going to fight more? Are we going to fight less? I don't know. It's going to be kind of tough to say. Otherwise, let's pull our ghosts together. 305 in one single stack there. 2 stacks. I like that. I actually like that better. There's a time for the single stacks, and there's a time to just overwhelm your enemy. I think that you definitely want to prefer, I think that you would actually do just fine to have 3 stacks of ghosts without any single stacks, and yet there could be some good flexibility by having a single stack of ghosts. In fact, maybe you have your number 1 position and your number 2 position be your single stacks of ghosts, and then you have your bigger stacks of ghosts, 151 or 75, 3 stacks of 75 or 2 stacks of 150, having those in the bottom slots. And that way the single stacks actually will get to go before your other ghosts. They can take the enemy's retaliation and things like that. The issue is that then they could die, and then you could get a problem where, as you see here, the enemy is trying to turtle up and protect their greater druids. Is that going to stop us, though? I don't think so. Truly do not. Otherwise, the power is going to be these 2 stacks of the ghosts. Whether you go for the champions or the battle dwarves, any losses that the enemy takes are going to go into your stacks. I think that might have been the choice there. Do I prevent the enemy from running? Well, you probably can't prevent the enemy from running. And so before they go, do I attack their dwarves or not? Of course, 11 champions, that's 11 more ghosts versus the battle dwarves. That would have been 34 more battle dwarves. Meh. Tough call. We come through this lith, and now we are kind of getting into the northeast of the map with Rebecca. Yeah, just so we're all aware and we're all on the same page here. Let's just take a quick look at this. We've got Agar down here in this kind of south westernly area, and then we just had Rebecca up here. So Rebecca's kind of in this general direction, exerting her influence on this sphere of the map. And then Agar, I think, is going to continue to just kind of wander his way as he's been doing and just find whatever he can find. I think that that's a great use of this 2-hero approach. I think that's going to go a long, long way in discovering more of the map. And as we've seen, picking up more of these kind of free obelisks. I maybe shouldn't say free, but there's been many of them that are completely unguarded. And maybe Agar can still take a couple of those guardians with the army he has. I would love to actually see, if we're only going to be running 2 heroes, maybe it'd be worthwhile to get Rebecca and Agar in the same room, just so you can trade some of those ghosts. I think that your stack sizes are big enough actually to make that happen. Is that beach or is that snow? Yeah, is that beach or snow? I think that that's got to be beach. We're looking for some kind of water feature where there's 3 separate kind of aisles, and I think he's saying, "Hey, buddy, I think I found it." Okay. Okay, is that seaweed? That's seaweed. We have found it. That is excellent. Okay. And just like that, we are 52 minutes in, and I think that Rebecca needs to head south because Agar says to himself, "No, buddy, I found it." Elliott, I am very impressed. Well done. Well spotted. I would have continued to pick up Obelisks. I don't think I would have recognized that that is our spot, but the nice thing is that that's like what, a 3x3 square. That's maybe 9 times max that you're going to have to dig. So long as Agar doesn't get accosted by any enemies that might land, I think that we're going to be just fine. Now, where do you land, or where do you first start to dig? We're going to go just south of that palm tree. This is going to be an X marks the spot kind of a deal. It could be right in the very, very center, but usually it's off 1 degree in one direction or the other, sometimes up to 3. I've seen, the furthest I've ever seen the X from the very center is like 4 or 5 tiles, and I don't know why the game did that, but that's kind of what I saw. We're going to dig, and just like that, first try, not even a problem, no sweat, congratulations. After digging, we get the ultimate wand of magic that increases your hero's spell power by 12, and more importantly, you have found the ultimate artifact. Your quest is complete. Great job. I am very impressed. Well done. Good work. 71 days spent, 347 on the score. With the difficulty and the base score, that is going to be a rating of a black dragon. Elliott, tremendous job. I am super impressed. That was a great playthrough. And if we remember, because we had just seen the minimap, there was a lot of map left to be explored. There was more obelisks to get. What a great job of sticking to your objectives and making sure that you knew what the score was. You understood the assignment, and I'm thrilled for that. Other things I think you did very, very well. Quite frankly, it's going to come down to your house rules, because I think that there were some more house rules in place, and I want to hear from Elliott to understand what those rules were, because that context matters so much in evaluating how a player plays. But of course, we saw things like battle prowess, great command of his armies, and good focus on the priorities. I mean, it's a pretty easy priority to say, hey, ghosts. I like ghosts. A whole ton of ghosts sounds like a good idea. And yet maybe some other players would not recognize the true value that you could get out of that barrel mound. So excellent game knowledge and making sure that you get huge stacks of those ghosts, playing it safe when you need to, and always having good movement with your heroes. I think that we saw lots of good opportunities, good logistical movement, and especially getting Agar out on the map. There was a strategy, and it was always to scout and to pick up whatever obelisks you could get, and ultimately that led to a victory. Folks, Elliott has said that he is open to feedback and criticism and comments. So more than just Phixfox's opinion, I think that he would love to hear in the comments what you thought about his playthrough. And I think that I can't think of anything that I would say, yeah, this might be something you can improve on. I think this was a great playthrough, but I want to hear from you in the comments. I think that he does as well. So Elliott, great job. Thank you for the submission. If you are interested in being featured in Phixfox Shoutcasts, look at the description. There is the information where you can get me your video, and we can make sure that we have everything all in place so that we can feature you. I'm looking, again, not for Heroes of Might and Magic 3 at this time, but for Heroes of Might and Magic 2, the FHeroes2 edition, hopefully. I want to do those videos at this time. That's what we're going to continue to do. And in fact, I do have a very exciting next video already planned. That one should be dropping on Saturday. Do note that I did for the first time also stream on Twitch, and that video I should be making available on the same day that this video becomes available to you. Otherwise, you can find me at Twitch. I'm still working on, how frequently we're going to be doing the Twitch, but it was very successful. I'm very, very grateful for all the people that checked it out in real time and made comments, and also the people that have since gone and checked out that playthrough. Again, I will make that Twitch playthrough of Fool's Gold available here on YouTube as well. Folks, thank you so very, very much. This is me having the time of my life, and I hope that you're loving life too. If you have any feedback for me, I'm always down for it. Otherwise, look after you. Look after your friends. Look after your family. And I'll plan on seeing you in the next one. Until then, take good care. I'm out.